Reported today in The Verge. Sony Xperia 5 review, the smaller, taller phone. Sony's latest Android phone, the Xperia 5, deserves better than it's going to get. It is a very capable, very good-looking phone that will, and in some ways already did, get lost in the shuffle of phones with bigger marketing budgets and better US carrier support. That's too bad, because while the Xperia 5 has some problems and probably wouldn't be my first recommendation to most people, there are surely some who would be into what it has to offer. The Xperia 5 has a nearly unique way of solving a problem we made for ourselves. We want big-screened phones, but they're too big to use with just one hand. Sony's solution is to make the phone very narrow and tall. I say nearly unique because the Xperia 5 is the slightly smaller follow-up to the Xperia 1. When I reviewed the very tall Xperia 1 earlier this year, I found it to be a fascinating phone that did better than I expected at the things Sony usually does badly, camera and software. Unfortunately, the Xperia 1 did exactly what I expected from Sony, cost too much. The Xperia 5, luckily, doesn't cost too much. It's priced right at $750 unlocked in the US. Decent camera. Good battery life. Big screen in an easy-to-hold body. Sony software still needs work. No wireless charging. Fingerprint sensor is hit or miss. The Xperia 5 has a 6.1-inch OLED screen, but in a 21:9 aspect ratio, so that screen is somewhat smaller than you might expect from the diagonal measurement. It's a narrow, tall phone. That means it's much more comfortable to hold in one hand. It's also, at least in some cases, easier to use with one hand, though Sony hasn't done the work Samsung has to shift important UI elements down to where your thumb can reach them. The key selling point to me is that you get one of the benefits of a big screen, a lot of content with less scrolling, in something I enjoy holding. Sony's pitch is that it's better for watching movies, but I haven't found it to be any more immersive. Even though it's narrow, nobody will mistake this for a small phone. It will still not fit in small pockets without sticking out. In fact, it's not that much smaller than the Xperia 1, and I can't help but wonder why Sony bothered making both. Build quality is good. It's not quite up to Samsung or iPhone levels of fit and finish, but I think it's a more pleasing object with better build quality than most OnePlus phones. Sony Xperia 5 and the Google Pixel 4 XL. Sony puts all its buttons on the right side of the phone, which is odd because there are more of them than you're used to. In addition to volume and power, there is a separate fingerprint sensor on the side and a dedicated camera button to launch it and take photos. Most of those buttons do exactly what you'd want, and I especially think the camera button is great. With a traditional two-stage PR. For more on this story, visit the news article link.